Hi everyone, welcome to Dragon Image. Today we're here with the DJI Ronin S2 or the Ronin DJI Rs2. This is a 3-axis handheld gimbal system which has 3 motors in order to stabilize a camera. Today we're balancing it off with the RED Komodo 6K. This is RED's new kind of crash cam, which should be really quite a good fit for this type of gimbal. We're using it with the Ceraire 18.5mm lens. We've got the EF to RF adapter with built-in variable ND, and we've got 2 of the Canon batteries on the back. So this is a fairly common kind of build case. I only have the big ones, otherwise I'd probably use the smaller ones in this particular case in order to reduce weight, but I have what I have and that's all there is to it. I've already mounted the plate to the base. So one of the things that I wish that came with, and it doesn't come with a flat version of this plate. It only comes with the one that has the adapter, just to show you what that kind of looks like. So it's got this little kind of plate like this. Ideally, I would have liked to mount this directly to the base. I can't do that without the plate being really far back and blocking the SCI. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use the way it comes. But seeing as this is a copy of a Manfrotto plate, I'm pretty sure I could buy the actual plate that Manfrotto make, which would kind of resolve that problem if I didn't already have it. So I'm just going to put that on and lock that off. One of the things that having this does kind of prevent, I can't use this as a way to balance. So I can't put this plate further back. It's always stuck in this exact space, and then I have to use this part here. On top of the camera, I've got a smartphone hood from SmallRig. The Komodo has exceptionally good Wi-Fi connectivity. So I can actually use the smartphone as not only a screen to kind of view from, but also use it to control all the camera's operations via the app that RED have developed. Okay, so now we're going to actually balance it. So first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock my first 2 angles. So there's little switches on the sides of these kind of controls, which allow me to unlock them when not in kind of storage mode. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Komodo, and I'm just going to slide it on to the gimbal. So I can kind of see straight away, I'm pretty far back, straight from the get-go. There we go. And what that means to me is that I've got very little clearance, if none, on the back. So if I was using the shorter batteries or a less heavy lens, I could probably get away with it, but in this case, it's actually going to hit that part there. I can work around this. You don't have to kind of use the full range of a gimbal whenever you're kind of using it, but it is something you need to kind of consider when we go. So let me just, is that locked? Unlocked, yeah, there we go. So slide that over, slide it over, and start to kind of refine this balance. So first of all, if I tilt this forward and let go, let me just hang up on that person quickly. The joys of using your phone to operate a camera. Ideally put it in plane mode before you start kind of going. You know what, the forward-backwards balance is a little off, but not by much. So unlock, I can use the little knob to make micro adjustments, and then kind of find that sweet spot and lock it off, okay? One thing I am finding kind of straight away is that I've kind of maxed out my left and right movement. So even though this camera isn't within that payload limit of that 4.5 kilos, it is heavy, don't get me wrong. I think it's probably closer to like maybe 3.5 kilos. I can't move the camera over via this back part anymore that way. And so I'm going to have to actually use the little plate, which I didn't like to begin with, but I'm going to have to actually use it to kind of slide the camera over a little bit. And one of the things I can kind of put that in that place, lock that off, and now I've kind of gone over too far, but what I can do is I can actually slide that over from the back. Oh. Oh, micro adjustments. Yep, great. Probably left me a voicemail. I find it's actually slightly easier to slide it on that little plate than it is to slide it from the back. But it is pretty close to balanced on those kind of two axes. A little bit bottom heavy, just a tad. So again, I can just kind of loosen that up. But I am kind of really getting close to maxing. So the idea here is you should be able to let go of the camera and it kind of to stay wherever you let go. And that kind of means that they're kind of balanced. This bottom one we haven't released yet. And so the bottom one itself is when you're tilting at particular angles. So if you're going to be hand holding straight up and down, it's not that big of an issue. But what you want to do is you want to find out if I let go of it here, does it swing forward when you're tilting it forward a little bit? And the answer is yes. That means that we've got a little bit more weight forward than we do backwards. So again, the idea is that you should be able to kind of handhold it and let go of the system. And it does feel like it's a little bit top heavy at the moment. Just a smidgen. I think we're wrong. As I said, this is a heavy lens and heavier batteries. So you could also remove the batteries, and RED do have a D-tap cable to like a V-lock battery, which is quite a long cable that you could have running up the sides and all that kind of stuff in order to help control that. But that looks pretty well balanced. If I had the shorter batteries and maybe like a 16 to 35 mil lens, maybe a bit better. But the only issue here is, again, I've got to kind of, when I control the gimbal, I've kind of got to hold it in a way that I know that that back part isn't going to make contact with that. But again, this is what we're talking about. So a lot of the times when it comes to gimbal operation and balancing gimbals and all that kind of stuff, the problem doesn't actually come from the payload. It actually comes more from the ability for the weight to be distributed in a way that balances it on the motors and doesn't conflict with any part of the gimbal itself, like we're seeing here. We have no real problem here, apart from that spot right there. So you can kind of see how that's kind of working. But apart from that, it's actually quite good. I should have turned that off a second ago. But there's something to consider whenever you're kind of balancing a gimbal. It's not, again, the overall weight. It's more about how you can distribute it. And that's why a lot of people tend to have problems with full-size REDs. There's a lot of weight, very solid. Or, for instance, the opposite, which like FS7s, which are very long cameras, which can kind of conflict with the build itself. So there we have it. So we've managed to balance RED Komodo on the RS2, and what we'll do now is we'll actually turn it on and we'll go from there. Thanks. Okay, so here we have our RED Komodo. One of the things that I encountered straight away was that this great cable sticks straight out the back, so this is something I need to address in the future. I've changed over to the 16 to 35mm Canon, which is fantastic because it gives me that beautiful autofocus that you can kind of see there. I'm actually using my phone on top as a display, so you can kind of see that there. Hey, how's it going? Which is working out really well. Like the latency on this is so small that it's actually very practical, and especially with the small HD hood. And you can kind of see it does take a little bit of practice to try to keep my video guy in frame, but you can see just how quick and easy kind of that is to use. It's actually really smooth. I'm really kind of impressed with this gimbal's capabilities in regards to doing that. I haven't used the focus wheel because obviously we're not connecting to the camera to control that, but from a kind of first glance approach, it looks very practical. I do need to figure out a way to get power to it, ideally via D-tap. At the moment I've just got like little Nano 1 50 watt-hour battery connected to a belt clip using the cable that, that RED produced for the DTAP. So if I can get that with a right angle adapter, that would be amazing. For people out there that don't know, the adapter that I'm using today is actually the variable ND version. So I can actually dial up and dial down the ND as needed. But yeah, very, very impressed with how easy that was to balance and how easy it is to actually set up the Ronin S2. If you're interested in anything DJI, contact your local Dragon Image. Thanks. If you like these videos and want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. That way it tells us that what you kind of want to watch. If you want to comment below, if you think that we missed anything, please let us know. We're happy to answer any questions in the comments. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks.